What is going on, everybody? We got an interesting package from ABC Reagents, so let's go ahead and get into it. Unfortunately, I've been extremely sick this past week, so there's been a pause on the Kalkwasser series, but that's all right because we got this one to do. So I put a poll up on Instagram asking if anybody would be willing to do a 1-gallon concentrate of the reagents, and plenty of people said yes, so we now have it. This thing is packed really nice, so there's instructions in here on how to mix all of this up, and as you can see, there's a whole bunch of bubble wrap in here. Let's go ahead and get all this out. Whew, that was almost bad news. Almost dropped everything. Let's go ahead and get into this. So, I'm sure you'll be familiar with these bottles. It's just like how the reagent comes with the new childproof cap on it, which is super nice. But, even though there's liquid in some of these, this is actually the concentrate to make the reagents. So let's go ahead and get them all out. So what we've got right here is enough concentrate to make the reagents of 2 gallons of A. You're going to be able to get 1 gallon of B and 1 gallon of C out of this. It also comes with an instruction list on how to mix up A, B, and C, and this is going to be super simple. So the owner has been working on this formula for a while now, so you can just make this at home. And that's exactly what we're going to do with this. The tools needed for this are pretty simple. You need a clean container just to store some water in. You're going to need a funnel. Some gloves will be really nice. And you're going to need 4 gallons of distilled water. Now, I'm not the chemist. Don't ask me why I use distilled instead of reverse osmosis deionized, but it claims for distilled, so we're going to use distilled. First things first, we're going to put our trusty dusty gloves on. You know you like the pink. Alright, so I will be displaying these instructions on screen because there really is no reason for me to just totally be reading them besides the fact that you'll be seeing it for yourself. Alright, we're going to get right into mixing the alkalinity reagent. It's going to come with 2 bottles for each because obviously you're going to make 2 gallons, so they're both labeled 1 and 2. You're going to get 4 of those. Here are the other 2, 1 and 2, both with the A's. For video purposes, we're only going to make 1 gallon right here though. So it asks to pour off about half of your bottle into a container. This is 1 gallon, so we're just going to pour off about 1,600 mils. Alright, let's go ahead and get our funnel in here. And the instructions for reagent A, number 1, pour off half of it. So what it wants you to do is to take bottle number 1, pour all contents into this half gallon, rinse out this container 2 or 3 times with this excess water that you have poured off right here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say it, but it should be obvious. You have a 1 gallon container that holds a gallon of water, and you're adding extra contents to it, so you're going to have just a little bit of water, technically exactly this amount in these bottles, that's going to be left over and not going to be used. Don't overflow this container on yourself, because I promise it will happen. So we're going to get number 1, and this is going to be our indicator dye. Go ahead and rinse this bad boy out. It says use 50 to 100 mils. We just gonna rinse it out with however much till it runs clear, basically. That first one almost did it. All right, that water is definitely clear. So it asks for the next step to fill your container 3/4 of the way full and shake it. We're about 3/4 of the way there actually, so we're not going to add any more water to it. For now, we're going to cap it and give it a good old shake. This is where you would want to wear goggles, but you know how I like to roll. Let's get our funnel back in. And the next step is contents of bottle number 2. And we're just going to pour it all in. And do the same thing, rinse the container out. This is going to be your acid for this, so be very careful. Do this at your own risk, please. And there goes that beautiful color change that you can barely see in the bottom of my screen. Let's rinse this container out. Alright, I'm confident that that container has been completely cleaned out of the acid. Very nice and beautiful orange. So we're going to add back on top of this. It says to stop about 1 inch from the top because that's actually a gallon, and that's about what these containers look like when they're filled. And there we go. We're left with somewhere in the 500 ml range. That sounds about right to me. Because let's be honest, you add 500 more mils to that, it's going to overflow like I told you. I'm going to cap this, give it a good shake, store it for later. All right, let's go ahead and get into reagent B. We're going to do essentially the same thing again. We're going to pour off some of this, and I'm actually not going to contaminate this glass whatsoever, so I'm not going to. Normally you would just dump this out and then restart back over. I'm just leaving it in here. All right, so it's essentially the same process again. You're going to pour off half the gallon, put some contents in, rinse the bottle out, fill it up a little bit more, cap it, shake it, and so on. But there are 1, 2, 3 components for B. So once again, you're going to be left with even more water left over. So please don't overflow your container on yourself. Cool, let's get right into this. Container number 1 for reagent B. This one's a powder, okay. Thicker funnel would definitely help with this. Such a lightweight powder. All right, we're gonna get some water in this container a couple different times. All right, that's good, it's running clear. So actually there's gonna be no capping and shaking of the bottle in between these. We're just going right for it. Just once again, be mindful of how much water you're actually using and putting in here. We don't want to overflow that container. This one is a liquid for number 2. And here goes number 3. Pink liquid. You see that right there? I definitely could have been a little bit more mindful of how much water I was using to rinse these bottles, but that's all right. And there we go. That's reagent B. 1 whole fucking gallon of it. Time to make C. We will start off by pouring off about half this container, just like it asked for. All right, same process as before. These are the C bottles. You're going to have a 1 and a 2. You're going to put 1 in, cap it, shake it, rinse the bottle out, of course, like before. Same thing for this one. Top up the container. I did wipe my funnel out with a paper towel, but I'm not too worried about the cross-contamination between B and C because 2 of the components are the same. B just has 1 extra component in it that C does not. There goes that lovely powder again. If you don't have a wide mouth funnel, you're going to have to sit here and tap it like me. All right, and there's that. Once again, let's be mindful of how much water we use to rinse these out. I am going to cap it and shake it anyways, just because that's how I'm wired. All right, same thing. Grab C number 2, dump it in. Now, if my memory serves me correct, this should be a sodium hydroxide solution, so be extremely careful with this. Tip, you know you got sodium hydroxide on your hands or your skin when your skin gets extremely slippery. If you can't really grasp what I'm talking about, don't go do it to find out. I promise you don't want it. All right, now that that's done, we're just going to top it up to about 1 inch from the top. A lot of foam in this guy. That's all right, though. Try and get this little bubble out. You'll notice there's a lot of foam on top of this one. Actually, whenever you shake the reagent bottles that you can purchase either from ABC or the other company, they foam up as well. So I'm actually going to let this foam die down first and then get just a little bit more water in there. I like that a lot better. And I'd call that about an inch from the top. Now, if you noticed, B and C are the same color, so just like when you're making your alkalinity and calcium solutions, if you do it that way, let's go ahead and label these guys. All right, here's C right here that we just finished up. We made another jug of A off camera, but I'm putting it up here just so you can see that you actually do get 2 gallons of A like you would need to finish off 1 gallon of B and 1 gallon of C. So just like when you make your calcium and alkalinity solutions, I would say it's probably best to go ahead and let the B and C sit for a couple of hours before you use it, just because there is the powder that you dump in there. And when you're shaking it up, you'd notice that there's a lot of it still in the bottom. So I just kept shaking it for about 2 or 3 minutes and then let it sit. And now it seems to be good. You can see there's no powder or no nothing undissolved in the bottom of either of these. I'm going to be honest, I absolutely love this right here. Purchasing this shit by the gallon, you can't beat that. You really can't. This is the only way I'm going to be buying it from here on out. Man, I had to close that window. There was so much light getting in my face. It was absolutely crazy. Yeah, that's basically it. What I'm going to do is just keep them in these gallon containers, and when I need more reagent in those little tiny bottles, boop, 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 boop. I really truly wish that we could extend the pharma tubing inside the unit so we could just use these gallon jugs, but I mean, if you kept it in proportion and extended the tube length and everything exactly 100%, so you'd have 200% worth from where you really started on tube length, it would work then, but you'd have to prime each one twice, and we don't want to risk overfilling the unit, and no, too much. Just refill your bottles as needed. And if you have any concerns, I would love for you to leave those things down in the comment. I really do read them. And anything about the ABC product line does get sent straight over to them every single time. But as always, thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.